There are three major categories of Chinese sculptures: tomb sculpture, religious sculpture, and palace and garden sculpture. Sculpture is a general name of techniques of engraving, carving, and moulding. It comes in forms of standing sculpture and bas-relief. Chinese sculpture has its own rules. The tomb sculptures enjoy the longest history and can be dated back to 700 BC. Palace and garden sculptures are the culture essences of the emperor's capitals, and they greatly influenced the styles of ancient architectures, since they were closely related with the changes of history and social developments. Traditional Chinese sculptures represent different senses of beauty of different dynasties and eras, just like the Chinese architecture. Traditional sculptures usually contain religious and practical meanings. They are like the accessories on these buildings, showing the delicate Chinese culture through their practical forms. Moreover, they are the prominent forms to show the royal prestige for ancient emperors. These small jade accessories vividly showcase the expressions of a variety of animals, some exaggerating, some distorted. They are the results of the talented craftsmen with their certain way to perceive beauty. The tomb sculptures in 200 BC usually represent the grand gesture of that era. The military troop made of 6,000 clay soldiers and horses was to accompany the deceased emperor, Qin Shi Huang. The stone sculpture in front of Huo Qubing's tomb represents the victories of the general's West expenditures. Longmen stone caves were built between 300 AD and 900 AD. Especially during the Tang dynasty, between 600 AD and 900 AD, these caves were sculptured to their extreme elegancy and grandness. The Forbidden City is the place where most decorative architecture sculptures can be found. The sculptures here are vividly close to real. The craftsmanship is near perfection. The culture of sculptures during the 13th century emphasized greatly on details. During this period, all kinds of sculptures of gods and spirits in temples, decorative sculpture on architectures emerged. For example, the sculptures in the Biyun Temple of Shangshan Mountain and sculptures in Qingdongling tombs and Ming-Shisanling tombs are the best in their tier. During the 100 years history of traditional sculptures, there are many masterpieces. No matter they were custom-made for the palaces or for the entertainment of daily lives, they've achieved the artistic peak in their own categories. Sculpture, this special form of art, can highlight and benefit from its surrounding architecture and environment. A unique combination of sculptures can create a meaningful atmosphere to further express traditional cultures. This is China today. Ancient but new. Traditional but full of contemporary challenges. Sculpture has stepped into normal citizens' daily lives. Compared to the traditional sculptures, what are the evolutions of the contemporary and modern Chinese sculptures? The sculptures have been given great emphasis since the foundation of New China. Contemporary and modern sculptors have adopted Western sculpture elements. The artists who studied overseas have brought in Western techniques. During the late 1950s, 10 major buildings were constructed in Beijing, and many sculptures were built as attachments to the buildings. The most typical are the two group sculptures in front of the Agriculture Exhibition Hall and the sculptures around the Workers' Stadium. They are the best representations of the enthusiasm and the compassion of that era. People's Hero Memorial is one of the outstanding works of that time. It is the highest memorial in history, and it is considered an architect's sculpture masterpiece with great artistic value. Hua Tianyu is one of the important people who participated in the construction of the People's Hero Memorial, which was built from 1952 to 1958. The bas-reliefs of the memorial were then mainly designed by the Central Art Institute. Liu Kaichu, Zhang Jujiao, Hua Tianyu, and other sculptors participated in the design of these bas-reliefs. Hua Tianyu was born in 1901 to a poor carpenter family. This is the bust of his son he carved when he was young. He mailed the photos of his works to the then director of the art department of Central University, Xu Beihong, and was greatly praised by him. In 1934, he entered a prestige art school in Paris with his credential of top in sketch and sculpture exams. Paris in the early 20th century was the place where contemporary art started. Many Chinese art students were attracted to Paris at that time. Among them, Hua Tianyu left others with deep impressions of his hard work and studies. These contemporary sculpture masters paved the way for the development of sculptures in the new era. These works represent the lives and changes of the people. With the rapid growth of China, art has indeed embraced the chance for evolution. In 1982, the Sculpture Planning Group and Thel Sculpture Art Committee were founded nationwide. Many large-scale sculptures were constructed. The significant development of the Chinese sculptures started within the 20 years after the reform and opening to the outside world. Sculpture has become a cultural work. The artistic level and quality of the sculptures in the modern cities represent the cultural state and the civilization of a nation and the people. During the first autumn of the 21st century, a sculpture park themed the anti-Japanese war emerged by Lu Guo Bridge of Beijing. This is so far the largest sculpture group in China. It is also a memorandum of that great anti-fascist war for people living today. The idea was started during the mid-1980s. After many hearings and preparations by the Beijing municipality and the state agencies, the grand project of constructing an anti-Japanese war-themed sculpture park was put into action in the spring of 1994. This project was assigned to the Sculpture Department of the Central Art Institute. The ages of the creators range from the 20s up to the people in their 70s, who created 38 sculptures, all representing the heart-wrenching history of the nation. These sculptures are also the representation of 5 years of hard work. In December of 1998, in the 2 abandoned factories in east suburban Beijing, a sculpture hangar was built to start the construction. From draft to molding, every step was an essential element to the grand finish. Artists of different ages with different methods carved the history half-century ago. These sculptures will be made into bronze and placed in the old battlefield. Like those stone lions on the bridge, standing high after time and war, to remind people of that time, to call for lessons in history. These sculptures standing on the streets, plazas and lawns adapted a variety of techniques. The sculpture arts in the 20th century have changed drastically, both in form and function compared to before. Emphasizing the surrounding elements is the most distinguished character of contemporary sculptures, and they are ever closer to the ordinary people. In the space of a city, sculpture is more than just a memorial. They have artistic and educational meanings. They are the signs of the cosmopolitan culture and important elements in city space. Sculptures in public areas are part of daily life. They form a grand culture environment with its surroundings. This is our city today, young, full of energy and hopes. Reform and opening to the outside world has given more field and chances for culture to evolve. Chinese and Western cultures enjoy greater opportunities to exchange. The group of sculptures in a public community in Shenzhen is called One Day in Shenzhen. Planners and designers of these sculptures had conducted detailed polls in the communities to finally decide to portray ordinary people in these sculptures. They chose the day of November 29th, 1999, to interview randomly 18 people from different backgrounds. With their permission, their images were made into sculptures to showcase the lives of ordinary people. The street of Wangfujing in Beijing is totally different than the past. However, a group of realistic sculptures seems to bring people back to the old times by telling stories of the rickshaws, singers, and the old tea houses. They are the real snapshots of the old Wangfujing, and they are so close to nowadays life. These are the new generation sculptors' works. More and new material are introduced, such as metal, wood, stones and plastics. There is no set rules, but more personality in between tradition and modern. Compared to the Western works, their works are very much influenced by the traditional culture. More artists look for muses in modern lives. Good training and high skills make them easier on conveying the message of modern lives. People's sense of beauty has been changing by the computer era and has been shown in these works. These are the Chinese sculptures of today, which focus more on the society and the relationship between human beings and nature. There are many female sculptors joining the movement. They are more sensitive and are energizers. They use more material to push the limit of sculpting. Some adopted essence of the folk arts to seek for liveliness and fun. Some seek inspiration from traditions. In public environments, their works are full of personality. They are the example of today's diversity. Many sculpture exhibitions around the nation have attracted attention on arts from the masses. This is an era to build, so sculpture gains more attention. No matter its plaza, street, corner, airport, park or theatre, no place is much of a void. Artwork should take up more occasions and spaces. When the artists have a stage to show their work, the audience will have more space to free their minds. This can be felt in many public sculptures. The forms and techniques of these sculptures standing on street corners, in plazas and on the lawns are so diversified. The 20th century sculptures have changed drastically in form and function. Balancing with the surroundings is the most distinguished character of contemporary sculptures. The content and feeling of these sculptures are uplifting. The forms are fun. The styles are varied. They are the representation of the age, and they are even closer to the ordinary people. Besides the plaza sculptures and memorial sculptures in the past, garden sculptures, Decorative architecture sculptures and landmark sculptures are vastly produced. With the emergence of new techniques and new materials, the sculpture styles are very much diversified. Different to the practical function of the architectural art, sculptures are more focused on their artistic value. To better our living environment, amuse our daily lives, balance our surroundings, sculptures will make our life even more beautiful. These are the most obvious examples of the beautiful cities in fast-growing China. More artists are trying more diversified creations to express their ways of art evolution. With its public nature, sculpture bridges contemporary art and contemporary communities. Chinese sculptures in the new century are absorbing new ideas from all directions to ensure more opportunities to develop. The merging of all elements has brought contemporary Chinese sculpture art to a magnificent level. Artists hope to pave a new way of Chinese arts, and the contemporary Chinese sculpture art has become an important part of Chinese arts. This means we'll have more beautiful spaces, better lives, and more colourful environments. These sculptures quietly stand on the street corners. However, they are the living examples of our lives and history. After thousands of years, just like the changes on this ancient land, they survive and carry on new stories.